Dubey sir, you can start now.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here on this forum every Sunday. And today we have three speakers who are going to talk about the pre-Buddhist traditional literature of India and J. Krishnamurti's discourse. I think we'll begin with Dr. Harshad Parekh, followed by Mr. Hareshwar Singh, and the last one to speak will be Sri Shakti Kumar. All three are known to us, so I'm not going to introduce anybody. And with these words, I'll request Dr. Parekh to please begin. And I'll request that we confine to 20 to 25 minutes so that there are, at least 20, 25 minutes left with us for people to ask questions or make comments or whatever. So Dr. Parekh, please.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Good morning, friends. I am happy to talk about the traditional pre-Buddhist Indian philosophy and Krishnamurti's philosophy. Indian philosophy started about 3,500 years ago, and there were 4 Vedas. And initially, the rishis who received these Vedas, which are written in Sanskrit, they were interested in who created this universe and what this universe is made of. And then they were worshipping some gods like sun god, fire, Indra, Brahma, and they said that Brahma created this universe and there was no cause for Brahma. And later on, the rishis turned inward and they wanted to know who am I, who is learning from nature. And so those part, which is the real philosophy, they are called Upanishad or Vedanta, which is about 108 Upanishads exist, but 10 Upanishads, they are considered to be the main Upanishad because Shankaracharya wrote commentaries on those 10 Upanishads. And what these people, the rishis, they had found certain things about the method, like there was one sage called Yajnavalkya, and he found to describe Brahman, which we cannot see it. He found a method called neti, not this, not this, and this method is used also to describe Atma. So what they say, the rishis, that our body is not us. Even our mind is not us. But there is something much deeper than the mind, the body, and that thing they call Atman. And so Atman is not the mind, body, thoughts, and this something which it can be found, it can be realized, this Atman, through very deep meditation. And for that, a student had to go to a guru and learn the philosophy, how to meditate, and there is this whole sadhana, and the student stays with the guru, with the rishi for many years. And then finally he finds something what is called Atman. And these sages, they had also dialogues like Yajnavalkya had a dialogue with his wife Maitreyi about love. And in that also Yajnavalkya says that we love a human being not because of the body or the mind, but because the Atman loves Atman, and that is a true relationship. And the ultimate goal of this philosophy is to realize the Atman and to realize that the Atman and Brahman, they are one. And so in some Upanishad, they have this Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that, which means that you are Brahman, and Atman and Brahman, they are completely free. And the ultimate aim is to realize this, and they call it Satchidanand, Sat Chit Anand. The ultimate aim is to find happiness which does not depend on things outside, not doesn't depend on people, doesn't depend on the possessions, money and all that. And there is a philosophy about what happens after the body dies. And there is one Upanishad which Krishnaji also used to mention about the story of Nachiketa. And Nachiketa is a young boy, about 11 years old, and he saw his father performing yagna, and the father was giving many possessions to poor people, but the father was giving very things which were not very valuable, not very good. And the son Nachiket was watching this, and he asked father, whom will you give me? And father did not respond. But then he asked 3 times, and the father got very angry, and he said, I will give you to Yama. That means the god of death. And the boy accepts this, and he goes to see Yama. And Yama, the god of death, was not there, but the boy waited for 3 days patiently. And then when Yama came, he was very happy to see that this boy was not afraid and he had waited for 3 days. So he asked Nachiket to ask for 3 boons, whatever he wanted. So in the first boon, he asked that when he goes back to his father will be kind to him. And that was given, that boon was accepted. And the second boon was about a particular kind of yagna, performing which people can go to heaven. And so that also was given to Nachiketa. And the third one, Nachiketa said that even people who go to heaven, they are happy for some time, but then they have to come back. So I want to know something about the real essence of the life. That means whether this, after the body dies, whether we continue the Atman. He did not know that thing, but he asked whether it is continued. And the Yama gives the philosophy about reincarnation. and says something about this characteristic of Atman. And in that, there is a beautiful metaphor which is given, is like our body is like a chariot and our senses are like horses. And the rein with which we control the horses is our mind. And the person who is driving the chariot, that is buddhi or intellect. And the person the, who is sitting in the chariot is you, real Atman. And then he says that people who are able to control their these horses, these senses, they can go in the right way and so on. But here, what Upanishad says is that you have to control your senses if you want to really proceed ahead in the path, spiritual path. And then, but in Krishnamurti is uh, not like that. The senses are to be awakened in Krishnamurti's teachings, and they should be when all the senses are functioning without thinking, then there is a real awareness, which Krishnaji says. And there is a law of karma in Upanishads, and it says that how you live now in the present life, that will determine what kind of life you will have after death. So there is this idea of reincarnation, which is connected with the law of karma. But in Krishnamurti, Krishnamurti doesn't want to go to the next life or previous life, but he says that our present life is very, very important, and how we live now. If we live rightly in the present moment, then the next moment there will be impact on that. And so Krishnamurti brings this, the idea of the law of karma to very, very close to our present life. And then in the traditional philosophy, there are different kinds of yoga for different kinds of people. So there is a karma yoga for people who are very active in society. Then there is a bhakti yoga, people who are emotional, devotional, they can follow bhakti yoga. Then Raja yoga and Jnana yoga, that is for people who are intellectual and meditative. So, but in Krishnamurti, there is no such distinction about people because he tells that all people are very, very similar. We are all conditioned, and there is a possibility for us to look at our own mind clearly. So Krishnamurti doesn't advocate any method or system of meditation, but depends on our own curiosity and passion to understand ourselves. And there is this Tattvam Asi, thou art that. Similarly, in Krishnamurti's teachings, you are the world. And Krishnamurti explains uh, in Tattvam Asi, it means that this you, the Atman, is Brahman, the supreme reality. Whereas in Krishnamurti, you are the world, he explains as that what is happening in the mind of humanity, all the problems which humanity is suffering, that is also happening within you. So psychologically, we are not different. And when you change, when you understand your mind through what Krishnamurti calls choiceless awareness, then there is a freedom. Then the whole problem making machinery of thinking can be seen very, very clearly, and the problems created by thinking, unobserved thinking, are solved immediately when this awareness is active. And that is why Krishnamurti said the perception is the action. And about in Upanishad traditional philosophy, Guru is given a lot of importance, and Guru is treated like a God. A Guru knows everything, and the disciple has to listen and understand and meditate. But in Krishnamurti, he rejects the idea of guru or any authority in spiritual psychological field. He says that a person whom we call a teacher can point out certain things, and then it depends on the listener or reader that they have to do the work. A guru cannot change uh, disciples or people. Everybody has to do their own uh, learning about the mind and find freedom from the self. And there is one analogy given in Upanishad, which is about the two birds sitting on the branch of a tree. And it says the one bird is eating fruit and the other bird is just watching. So there are two principles here. One is the active principle, and one is the um, reflecting principle, just observing. And so, similarly, in Krishnamurti's teaching, we can say that there is a thinking as one bird and awareness as the other bird. The awareness can see thoughts as they are arising. And this awareness is completely passive. It has no content. It has no location. It is everywhere. It is a universal um, intelligence. So, yes, one thing I forgot to tell about the rishis, they felt that this universe was made from five basic elements, and they call it water, fire, uh, air, and earth, and the space. But there, scientifically now we know much better what the world, the matter is made of. And even scientists now, they don't know what actually the matter is made of as they go very, very deep into the matter through electron microscope and other instruments. They find that matter is energy. And then also now they say that matter, energy, and consciousness are three states of the same basic substance of which everything is made of. And this philosophy Upanishads, they, they were written in Sanskrit, but then were translated into Persian, and then Persian to Latin. And from Latin, it went to Europe, and Schopenhauer, who was a German philosopher, he was very much impressed by the philosophy of Upanishad. And then American Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Thoreau and many, many philosophers and even the physicists like Heisenberg and Niels Bohr and many other physicists like Capra, and they went very deep into the Indian ancient philosophy, and they found that there is something what is said in that ancient philosophy. It corresponds with the quantum physics, where they said that everything is um, related to everything else, and one thing affects everything else in quantum, and that is what also said in the Indian philosophy that, and also it says that form matter is um, space and space is matter, something like that. So um, it seems that the rishis they went very very deep within themselves and they found certain things and then they wrote it down, but then they transmitted it orally for many, many years and then they were written down. But then people just started repeating, just like Tatvamasi, like that. So I feel that the philosophy of Upanishad has not been understood even by people in India, and they are thinking that the God exists in temples, and millions of people they go to temples and they go and have bath in Ganga, thinking that their sins will be washed. But even Buddha had doubted that whether one can really be free from sins by going to temples or by doing yagna and so on. So I think I have taken, let me see if there is anything. Okay, I think more or less uh, Krishnaji says that the Indian philosophers are generally, they are very, very articulate and they are kind of a metaphysicians, but they don't have the direct experience which very, very few people in this country had, like Raman Maharshi or Ramakrishna. They had gone very, very deep, Shankaracharya and all that. So just repeating the scriptures, even repeating Krishnamurti's teachings doesn't help. We have to start with our life as we are and look from where these problems are arising. And that means to look at the source of thinking and from thinking arising this sense of I, the false sense of I or me or ego. And so there is a challenge and the Krishnamurti's teachings are very, very challenging. But for modern people, I think uh, especially those who are intellectuals, they are attracted to Krishnamurti's teachings. But again, one can get into intellectual understanding, which really doesn't, uh, one has to have not intellect, but something higher than intellect is intelligence. And with that intelligence, intellect can function properly in our daily life and we don't create problem. And when we change, the world changes to that extent. Okay, I finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshad Bhai. Thanks a lot for covering the both sides. With now, I'll request Harish ji, please unmute yourself and you can begin. Harish ji, please.
Okay, first of all, namaskar once again to everyone. By the way, Dubey, so the idea is that if there are any questions, either to Harshad ji or to me, that will be asked at the end. Do I understand correctly?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. My topic is, topic is given. I have taken a particular theme or topic or subject, and I have tried to find the sources, the parallels running between the two. Between the two meaning what Krishnaji says about that and what our traditional literature says about that. So my range is very narrow, but I may cover quite, if not a lot of ground, considerable. I will try my best to cover a considerable ground. So my talk is the concept or theme of meditation. Meditation in Krishnaji's literature, in Krishnaji's discourse, let me clarify one thing. Discourse has, several meanings. Like when we say that Swamiji will give a discourse, you are talking about a particular lecture or speech or talk that Swamiji or whoever is going to give. But when you say this Kisan Andolan has taken the center stage of public discourse, it has a wider meaning. All the communication that is happening in the public domain, whether through social media or whatever it is. So Krishnamurti's discourse means it includes his total literature, spoken or written. But yes, original, not what somebody else has written on that. Okay, so meditation, dhyan. Now, there is one basic difference which I must emphasize at the very outset. And that is, Krishnaji has taken meditation as something which is happening, which happens. And I will give some examples, concrete examples. But to him, meditation is something that happens. Okay. In traditional literature, the common word which the scholars use is dhyan. Now, if we take the central line of Krishnaji's thought, then certainly Krishnaji's meditation is not traditional dhyan, for the simple reason. First of all, yesterday I was going through some text from the Vedas, and I was surprised. Dhyan comes from the dhatu dhi, and the very meaning of dhi is imagination. So traditional dhyan starts with mental activity. Krishnaji's meditation starts with awareness of mental activity. That is the basic difference. Okay. That is one point. Second point is that in traditional dhyan, there are essentially three factors, and they are indispensable, they are unavoidable, probably unarguable, indisputable. Dhyata, dhya, and then dhyan. Dhyan is the process, and there is one sadhak, yogi, meditator, practitioner who is dhyata. And if he is doing tratak on a bindu, on a dot, that is dhya. If he is meditating, concentrating on breath, then the breath, sans, aa rahi hai, ja rahi hai, coming and going, that is dhya. This process is called dhyan. So that is the major difference. But we will see if there is contradiction also. So that is the first point to be noted in Krishnaji's approach to meditation. although what I am saying is more or less beyond dispute about Krishnaji's, but still let me quote so that, and let me please allow me only a few seconds because it will give me some peace of mind. Let me now, whatever material I have taken for Krishnaji's thing, let me put it in chat so that if somebody wants to check, they can check. Yes, unfortunately, I could not note down the sources of the Upanishad and all that, the exact website, but that should not matter because I will quote the Sanskrit sloka, which anybody can check, verify. But okay, so so the first thing is the first point that I said, and so the what I am quoting is from Truth and Actuality. It is one of the major works of Krishnamurti. Quote, I don't know what you mean by meditation, because as we are aware, he often ridiculed the moment he would start talking about meditation. First of all, Krishnaji would sound very, very critical, sometimes sounding even cynical. But after 1 hour, you may feel that ultimately he has said what others are also saying, whoever they are. But yes, Krishnaji wanted to demolish that meditation is not a commodity which you can, try for a month or a year and go to the market and buy. So he wanted to caution us. On the one hand, he said, it is not a matter of time at all. And on the other, he did not tell us, after all, how long it will take for meditation to descend on us. So both the things are there. So I'm quoting from Truth and Actuality. Yes, I don't know what you mean by meditation. To me, meditation is something that cannot be cultivated or practiced following a system. It must come naturally, like a flower that blooms. You cannot force it. Okay. So somebody may say, okay, Harishji, fine, I agree. But I can quote something from another book which contradicts. And then my only point is that you don't need to try hard. I can myself quote. Let me quote. In the book Meditations, I'm talking about the older edition, which I translated in the year 1982. And I don't know whether it is the same edition continues, the English version or whatever, or they have combined 2-3 booklets and then brought out one. But I will quote a few lines where he says, and elsewhere also he said, meditation is hard work. Now you see the irony, see the paradox. On the one hand, he rejects at one stroke the whole question of effort, endeavor, and therefore time. Here he says, meditation is hard work. On another page, he says, therefore, you should meditate in the stillness of the morning and silence of the night. These are the exact sentences that I'm quoting. I don't remember the page number, but if anybody has any doubt, it can be found. So it's not that you have to try hard to contradict one thing said by Krishnamurti with and compare this with another. I can do that, and not only that. You might have. Let me remind you of another thing. He said that if you are trying hard, then you are missing, because wherever there is trying hard or effort, there is conflict. But you may kindly remember, while giving his public talks and all that, he would often bang his head and say, look, oh, come on, sir, the speaker is working hard. Are you working hard? He reminded us, you are sitting back, relaxing, just listening. No. So the speaker is working hard. So the paradox is there. In one way, it is effortless. This understanding somehow should come to us rather than us chasing it. Anyway, so that was from the truth and actuality. Okay, so now if somebody asks me what is the science of Krishnamurti's yoga of or meditation, whatever, Krishna said that meditation is through self-knowledge. And you may kindly remember that the other day when probably the same day, Sunday or Thursday, I don't remember, but there was a talk about self-knowledge. How can it be self-knowledge? Knowledge is always accumulation of the past and memory and all that. So I will use another word for self-knowledge, and that is self-knowing. There is no self-knowledge. There is only self-knowing. Either I am knowing, the knowing myself is happening now or never. What knowing I did yesterday is absolutely irrelevant. And what knowing myself will happen tomorrow or the very next moment, that is also irrelevant. If there is any knowing happening right now, that is the only thing relevant. And self-knowing, that means what? Self-awareness. Or let us use another word, self-understanding through self-awareness. Okay. Okay, fine. So what is there to understand about ourselves? Is there anything? Yes, there is. Now, could I quote? I could quote. Okay. And the quotation is, I will request you to remind yourself of, just a minute, remind yourself of the Book of Life, where he meticulously talks about the Book of Life, reading one page after another, page by page. Now you mind it. If you wanted to fight with Krishnamurti, so to say, I don't literally mean, you can fight with him. But he said, and reading page after page, that means it takes time. It is maybe it is a matter of practice or time or whatever you call it. And then he said, and then you come to the last page. And once you have read it, there is nothing more to read. You know, on the one hand, he doesn't say that meditation or whatever is the final culmination. Once you have done it, then go to sleep, relax. No, probably the discovery of meditation may be the beginning of a new journey, novel journey. Anyway, so if we look at Krishnaji's thing, you know, we find all these kinds of contradictory, or unless you call it not contradictory, but complementary, supplementary elements. So, and understanding oneself, and then understanding the mechanism of the thought mind. I am using the word not understanding just the thought mind, but thought mind, also because mind is an ocean. And Krishnaji has also said in the book, The Ending of Time, when he's talking to David Bohm, and sir, that mind is the ground of all existence, all creation. So mind is a mystical thing, mysterious thing. So in the ultimate sense, probably mind is part of soul, spirit, God, and whatever, vice versa, I dare say. So thought mind, and that is, he often reminded us, it is not important what you think, but how you think. So whatever I am thinking, is it coming from my jealousy, my feeling greedy? Because all the jealousy and greedy or whatever determines how I think. So let us go back to, that is the mechanism. Okay, establishing that, please allow me to read a few lines from the book Meditations. When you learn about yourself, comma, watch yourself, comma, watch the way you walk, how you eat, what you say, the gossip, the hate, the jealousy. If you are aware of all that in yourself without any choice, we often fight over choiceless awareness. And I have seen, I should not name the person, but sometimes I see people make fun of choiceless awareness. Yes, without any choice means what? I am watching it without a single thought of, oh, I wish I was free from greed or jealousy. No, no alternative, no substitute. But my dear Harish ji, what if the thought arises? Absolutely no problem. Then let the pendulum swing from this end to another end. What is that? Then watch the thought. Forget about jealousy. I wish I could be free from jealousy. That is the only reality. Watch it. So without any choice, that is part of meditation. So meditation can take place when you are sitting on a bus or walking in the woods full of light and shadows, or listening to the singing of birds, or looking at the face of your wife, husband, or child. Okay. So now let me quote from his public talks given at San Diego, public talk given on 9th April 1970. And in the source that I have quoted, that is Krishnamurti, jkrishnamurti.org content, what meditation, that is in the very first paragraph. I think this must be very clearly and definitely understood before we go into what is meditation and why one should meditate at all, and what is the use of meditation, where does it get you? You see, he sounds like emphasizing. And what is the use of meditation? Where does it get you? Okay, and why one should meditate at all? So he is emphasizing that we, I mean, you may say that, no, I have totally misunderstood, maybe. But as I take it, he exhorts us, inspires us that we should not shy away from meditating. Anyway, so, and then he further he says, and as we said, when we last met here, that is previous public talk, that one must lay the foundation. Now you see, this, what I am saying, is probably the very important thing which people, most of us try to deny. No, Krishnamurti doesn't talk about preparation and all that. But that is why I am quoting 9th April, San Diego, his first public talk. And yes, we must lay the foundation of order, which is righteousness, not respectability. The social morality is no morality at all. So he is talking about a different kind of morality, for which he uses the word righteousness without any reservations, without any riders, without any exceptions. Righteousness, that means what? We have to be morally upright. We have to have this quality of integrity, that righteousness. Now, in traditional literature, I don't have to quote, Dr. Parekh has thrown light on that. Yam Niyam Pratyahar Dharana. Of course, somebody may say, no, Patanjali happened long after Christ, let alone Buddha. Yes. But Patanjali did not say everything new. Here, and you will find ample examples from the traditional literature in the Vedas. And one example I am going to quote right away, because so far I have not quoted anything. Okay, now I am quoting from Samved. And as you all are aware, Upanishad is also called Vedant. Why? Because they have been purposely put at the end of the Vedas. So Vedant, where the Veda ends, Upanishad starts. Therefore, they call it Vedant. And before Vedant, we have all kinds of garbage and rubbish. Because I'm sorry to say that, how to, entice or lure, hypnotize a woman so that she becomes my bed partner and all that. So whether it is Vashikaran, whether it is sorcery, whether it is exorcism, or whether how to treat a disease, all kinds of mantra, how to invite a rain god and all that. So all that is there. How to conquer your enemy. So, and that is why, there are people who conquer. They say Vedas are Aparushe. What is holy and religious about Vedas? That is kachara, that is garbage and rubbish. So I don't want to waste time on that. But Veda, that is why somebody has rightly said, Veda is the encyclopedia. Whatever was known to mankind was inserted into the Vedas. So I am quoting right away from Chandogya Upanishad, which is end of Samveda, verse number 761. ध्यानं वाव चित्ताद भूयो ध्यायतीव पृथ्वी ध्यायतीवांतरिक्षं ध्यायतीव द्वैध्यायन्ति वापो ध्यायन्तीव पर्वता देव मनुष्यास्तस्मादय इह मनुष्यानां महत्तां प्राप्नुवन्ति ध्यानापादांशां इवैव ते भवन्त्वयथत ये अकल्पा कलहिन पिशुना उपवादिनस्ते ये प्रभवो ध्यानापादांशा इवैव ते भवन्ति ध्यान मुपास्वेति. As I said, verse number 761. Now, let me read its English translation. Otherwise, it has no meaning. Its English translation reads, yes, just a minute. Just a minute. Yes, thank God. Yes. So now I am reading English translation. Meditation is certainly superior to intelligence. The earth seems to be meditating. The space between the earth and heaven seems to be meditating. So also, heaven seems to be meditating. Water seems to be meditating. The mountain seems to be meditating. Gods and human beings also seem to be meditating, but what follows next is very, very important. And please pay attention. Just a minute. Yes. And I have got the Sanskrit equivalent also. And those, if anybody has the, curiosity, I can read that. Otherwise, I will just see. This is why those who in this world among human beings, like Manushyana, among human beings attain greatness, they seem to enjoy the fruits of meditation. But those who are small, now mind you, those who are small, not in height, what Krishnaji says, you are petty little human beings right now. No matter how much you meditate, you are not going to arrive anywhere. So first of all, know yourself, make yourself a little great. Great means what? Liberal. Realize, I am the world is me, I am the mankind. Those who are small, mind the word, kalhinah means those who are quarrelsome, those who are wasting their life in enmity, hostility, antagonism. Okay. Pishuna, crooked, cunning. Krishnaji often talked about how cunning our mind is, crooked. Those who love scandal mongering, but they are not going to get this meditation. Those who are great, they seem to enjoy the fruits of meditation. So that was to drive home my point that Krishnaji does mean that some kind of preparation is necessary, but he doesn't say that preparation must take place over time. No, as he said, seeing your jealousy in its total nakedness is the freedom from jealousy. You may say, but yes, that freedom lasts only 1 second. Of course, whenever it arises, you have to watch it, and there the freedom from jealousy arises, takes place. So that is one thing. Now, let me quote from his lecture at Los Alamos in 1984. I remember because it came in the, my friends, Dr. Prachuri and others told me, when he was invited for the first time to Los Alamos, and when he took his seat, he looked at the audience and he said, "Is it sure I am in America?" Somebody asked, "Why do you doubt it?" I said, "I can see Indians all over." Then somebody whispered into his ears, "Krishnji, this is the research lab of Pentagon. So all the arsenal of atomic bomb or whatever, all the research is done here. And if Indian scientists working there go on a strike for a year, not a single rocket can go into a space." So I don't know. I don't know whether he felt gratified hearing that, but this he said. Now the idea of meditation is to make the brain quiet, silent, completely attentive, and in that attention find that which is eternal or something sacred. And that is why I said that if you are asked, or I am asked, what was Krishnamurti's take on meditation, that I would be tempted to say, still I would say, in spite of all the lay the foundation of righteousness and true morality, not social morality, his idea was that meditation must happen. And that is why, let me give not more than 2 examples, and you all know that. He said that the meditation comes on a day you least expect it. He even said in the book Only Revolution, if I remember correctly, truth comes like a burglar the day you least expect it. And he gave also the analogy of 2 analogies, like preparing for the guest. You can clean the room, prepare, make dishes, but you cannot force the guest. You have to wait. Now, he would not say that you have to wait. That means waiting has to happen over time. No, he said waiting not for something. Nevertheless, you have to wait. There is no denying. Second example he gave when he said that when it's like, sorry, just a minute. When he said that you keep the window open, because if the breeze comes and your window is closed, it will go back. Meditation, truth, whatever you call it, sacred, is like breeze. It comes on its own accord. But if the window is closed, it will go back. You have to keep it open. But open it and then patiently, then waiting, and oh my God, the breeze hasn't come. No, that is not the waiting I'm talking about. But keep the window open. So that is why what he means by that sacred that comes into being. So in Krishnaji's line of meditation or dhyan, we can say in the traditional literature, that is samadhi. And samadhi also not savikalp samadhi, sabij samadhi, but nirvikalp samadhi, in which so to say, the soul and the God or Almighty or whatever have merged. So that, but in traditional, so Krishnaji's idea of meditation, dhyan, it is that nirvikalp samadhi, not that traditional literature has not talked about it. No, it has talked about. Now, please allow me just one sentence. It may interest. Patanjali almost gave the mathematics of transformation. But if you read the chapter Ishwar Pranipad, he still says that unless that grace descends on you, no matter of your yam, niyam and dhyan or dhyarana will happen. So you have to wait for that grace. So Krishnaji has also talked about that breeze, that let the breeze comes. So ultimately that grace is also a factor which is also in the traditional literature. And in fact, traditional literature is dominated by that. And it is also in a slightly clandestine way through the back door in Krishnaji's literature also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harishji. Thank you. very full of the scholarship and great study. Thanks a lot. May I request Shakti ji now to please unmute yourself and begin your discourse. Shakti ji will be speaking in Hindi and Sanskrit and will also be adding English wherever there is a need. Shakti ji, please.
Thank you, sir. The subject is such that I will not be able to speak in English because English is my second language. I cannot go into depth, and here I need to go into at least some depth. For this, I'm sorry. I'm taking recourse to Hindi only. Yeah. You see, two things I would like to be very frank about in the beginning. One thing is that I will be speaking on Krishnamurti's discourse and Gita and a little bit Yoga Sutra also. But the understanding that I have is purely academic, intellectual. I have not lived any of the things which I am going to speak. So it's pure theory. That is one thing. Second thing is that I will need to speak at least some excerpts from Krishnamurti in English. So please forgive me for my wrong stress on syllables, etc., because English is not my language. So with this, I start. जो कृष्णमूर्ति का साहित्य है, मैं साहित्य शब्द का प्रयोग कर रहा हूं, शिक्षाओं शब्द का प्रयोग नहीं कर रहा हूं जानबूझ करके, क्योंकि जैसे ही हम कहते हैं शिक्षाएं तो हम एक जगह पर उनको स्थापित कर देते हैं। तो एक मैसेज है, एक संदेश है कृष्णमूर्ति का, इसी तरह से गीता का भी एक संदेश है और योग सूत्र का भी एक संदेश है। और इन संदेशों के कुछ हिस्से ऐसे हैं जो बिल्कुल सेक्युलर हैं, जिनका आपकी मान्यता या मान्यता के अभाव से कोई संबंध नहीं है। तो मैं उन्हीं हिस्सों की बात कर रहा हूं। मैं अपनी बात शुरू करूंगा, ये प्रोफेसर कृष्णा की एक किताब है अ ज्यूल ऑन ए सिल्वर प्लेटर। उसमें अच्युत जी के साथ उनका एक इंटरव्यू उन्होंने लिया था, उसमें से एक छोटा सा पैसेज है, ये मैं यहाँ पर इंटरव्यू में से ले रहा हूँ। अच्युत जी कहते हैं, I know several people who have gone through this exercise through Vedanta. He means their sadhana through Vedanta and through yoga, and some through Buddhist yoga, and they have said that when you listen to Krishnamurti, a window opens, a clarity comes to your mind so that you see more in it than you could ever see yourself. अब वो कह रहे हैं कि जो चाहे वेदांत की कोई साधना कर रहा है, चाहे कोई और प्रकार की पारंपरिक साधना कर रहा है, तो उसमें कृष्णमूर्ति को जब वो लोग पढ़ते हैं तो उनको उस साधना में स्पष्टता मिलती है, जो कि जब तक उन्होंने कृष्णमूर्ति को नहीं पढ़ा था तब तक वो स्पष्टता उसमें नहीं थी। तो एक तो ये पक्ष है कृष्णमूर्ति का और परंपरा का। एक दूसरा पक्ष और भी है, उसमें मैं अपनी सीमित समझ आपसे शेयर कर रहा हूं, उसमें त्रुटि भी हो सकती है। मुझे लगता है कि अगर किसी ने वेदांत की साधना करनी है या किसी ने मान लीजिए विपश्यना करनी है या जैन धर्म का जो प्रेक्षा ध्यान है वो करना है, तो उस समय उस साधना को आजमाते हुए कृष्णमूर्ति को भूल जाना चाहिए उस समय, और कृष्णमूर्ति को पढ़ रहे हैं, उनके साथ प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, तो उस समय गीता को और योग सूत्र को भूल जाना चाहिए, नहीं तो सब वो मिक्स्ड अप हो जाता है। तो इस वजह से जो एकमात्र जिसे हम कहें कि अच्छी बात है इस कंपैरिजन में जो आज हम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि बुद्धिज्म के साथ काफी कंपैरिजन हो चुका है, और जो प्री बुद्धिस्ट लिटरेचर है ट्रेडिशनल, उसके साथ बहुत कंपैरिजन नहीं हुआ है। तो इस वजह से उसका सिर्फ मेरी दृष्टि में उसका महत्व यह है कि अगर हम कृष्णमूर्ति के साथ प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, चाहे जितनी सीमित रूप से प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें जिस तरह से अच्युत जी ने कहा कि जो पारंपरिक साधना करने वाले लोग हैं उनको कृष्णमूर्ति पढ़ करके कुछ उजाला मिलता है, इसी तरह से मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम कृष्णमूर्ति के साथ प्रयोग कर रहे हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं हमको कुछ ऐसी चीजें कौन सकती हैं पारंपरिक साहित्य में जो हमारी इंक्वायरी को रीइग्नाइट करें, ऐसा मेरा मानना है। तो इसी को मैं ख्याल में लेते हुए अपनी बात कह रहा हूं। गीता का एक अध्याय है जो मुझे बहुत प्रिय है, 6ठा अध्याय उसका, और ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं गीता से पूरी तरह सहमत हूं, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है, क्योंकि गीता में एक जगह ऐसा भी आता है कि जो स्त्री शूद्र इत्यादि पाप योनि के लोग हैं तो वो भी इससे तर जाते हैं, तो फिर जो राज ऋषि और ब्रह्म ऋषि लोग हैं उनका तो कहना ही क्या। अब ये बड़ी कड़वी बात है, इससे सहमत होना मुश्किल है, लेकिन हर जगह पर ऐसी चीजें होती हैं जो हमको ग्रहण करने योग्य होती हैं, हमारे जीवन में काम आती हैं। तो गीता के 6ठे अध्याय में ही एक बहुत मशहूर श्लोक है, आप सबने सुना होगा, वो युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्त चेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः। तो उसमें जो अर्थ लिया जाता है युक्ताहार विहारस्य का, कि युक्त माने मॉडरेट, यथा योग्य, जितनी जरूरत है उतना हम आहार लें, उतना हमारा विहार हो, उतनी ही कर्मों में हमारी चेष्टा हो, और उतना ही जो मॉडरेटली हमारे ड्रीम्स हों और हमारा अवबोध भी। तो इस प्रकार का जो योग है वो दुख को हरण करता है, ऐसा वेदव्यास ने कृष्ण से कहलवाया है। मैं जब इसको पढ़ रहा था तो अब मैं तो बिल्कुल प्योर लिटरेचर की तरह पढ़ता हूं, मुझे इसके ठीक बाद एक और श्लोक नजर आया और जिससे मुझे युक्त शब्द का एक बिल्कुल अलग अर्थ कौंधा। अब वो उस अर्थ से कोई पारंपरिक गीता का विद्वान कोई उससे सहमत नहीं होगा, लेकिन वो दूसरा श्लोक है, और वो वाला अर्थ मुझे कभी नहीं मेरे दिमाग में आता अगर मैंने कृष्णमूर्ति को नहीं पढ़ा होता। वो इसके बाद वाला श्लोक है। मैं ये 6ठे अध्याय के 17वां श्लोक पढ़ा था मैंने, और वह 18वां पढ़ रहा हूं। यदा विनियतम चित्तम आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निस्पृह सर्व कामेभ्यो युक्त इत्युच्यते तदा। युक्त इति उच्यते तदा, युक्त किसे कहा जाता है उसकी बात कृष्ण यहां कर रहे हैं। पिछले ही श्लोक में उन्होंने कहा युक्ताहार विहार से, और यहां पर वो बात कर रहे हैं कि युक्त किसे कहते हैं। यदा विनियतम चित्तम, जब जो चित्त है जिस काल में, विनियतम विनियम पूर्वक, बहुत ध्यान से, चेष्टा के साथ, ऐसी चेष्टा के साथ जो प्रयास नहीं है, यह अर्थ मैं दे रहा हूं इसको। आत्मनि एव अवतिष्ठते, जब वो आत्मा में भली भांति स्थित हो जाता है। अब आत्मा जो है शब्द, उसकी जगह कृष्णमूर्ति जो शब्द प्रयोग करते हैं, मेरे ख्याल में वो वहां पर इंटेलिजेंस शब्द का प्रयोग करते हैं और अवेयरनेस शब्द का प्रयोग करते हैं। तो वो अवेयरनेस में या इंटेलिजेंस में जब जो व्यक्ति का चित्त है वो उसमें स्थित हो जाता है, तो तब क्या होता है, तदा सर्व काम्यभ्य निस्पृह, उस काल में जो सभी कामनाएं हैं उनके प्रति स्पृहा नहीं रहती। स्पृहा का मतलब होता है बहुत ज्यादा चाव। एक तो होती है ना इच्छा, की इच्छा हो गई किसी चीज की, पूरी हो जाए तो ठीक, नहीं हो तो ठीक। स्पृहा होती है बस उसके पीछे लग जाना, और नहीं पूरी हो तो जिंदगी बर्बाद है ना। तो वो स्पृहा नहीं रहती। अब जो परंपरा में इसका अर्थ किया जाता है वो ये है कि एक ऐसी स्थिति आती है जो स्पृहा का निरसन कर देती है, उसको हटा देती है ना। तो इट बिकम्स ए स्टेट ऑफ माइंड विच हैज टू बी अचीव्ड। मेरे को जो इसका अर्थ दृष्टिगत हो रहा है वो ये है कि जिस क्षण हम युक्त होते हैं, अटेंटिव होते हैं, युक्ताहार विहारस्य, खाना खाते समय अटेंटिव, व्हेन यू आर ईटिंग ईट, कृष्णमूर्ति ने भी इस चीज का जिक्र किया है। व्हेन यू आर रीडिंग ए नॉवल, इवन इफ इट इज ए नॉवल, सॉरी ए बुक, इवन इफ इट इज ए नॉवल, रीड इट अटेंटिवली, है उस चीज का उन्होंने जिक्र किया है वहां पर। तो यहां पर जो मुझे अर्थ ग्रहण हो रहा है वो ये है कि युक्त चित्त की अवस्था में, यानी कि अवेयरनेस की अवस्था में, अटेंशन की अवस्था में, हमारी जो स्पृहा है, हमारी जो बहुत तेज चलने वाली इच्छाओं की गति है, वो धीमी पड़ जाती है, उस पर विराम पड़ जाता है। मतलब ये कि जिंदगी को देखने का तरीका, जिंदगी को समझने का तरीका जो अवेयर होते समय होता है हमारा, और जो अनअवेयर होते समय होता है, वो बिल्कुल अलहदा होता है। और इस चीज का प्रयोग किया जा सकता है बिना किसी प्रकार की मान्यता को बीच में लाए। जब हम जीवन में सजग होते हैं, जागे हुए होते हैं, उस समय हमारी इच्छाओं के वेग की क्या स्थिति होती है, और जिस समय हम अनअवेयर होते हैं तो किस तरह से जो विचारों का प्रवाह है वो उसको मजबूत करता चला जाता है और वो सुदृढ़ होती चली जाती है। एक यश चोपड़ा साहब ने एक फिल्म बनाई थी परंपरा। मेरे को उसका ख्याल इसलिए आ गया क्योंकि उसमें एक मुद्दा ऐसा है जो बहुत इस चीज से जुड़ा हुआ है। उसमें एक राजपूत चीफटैन का रोल किया था सुनील दत्त साहब ने। तो वो कैरेक्टर एक जगह कहता है कि हमारी जिन लोगों से दुश्मनी है ना, उस दुश्मनी को हमें रोज याद करना चाहिए रिलीजियसली, नहीं तो दुश्मनी में धार नहीं रहेगी। तो इस तरह हमारा दिमाग काम करता है। वो तो फिल्म का डायलॉग था लेकिन वो सच्चाई है। तो जिस तरह से वो जो पारंपरिक राजपूत कैरेक्टर था, मेरा जन्म भी राजपूत घर में ही हुआ है इसलिए कोई बुरा ना माने, तो उसको दुश्मनी अपनी रोज याद करनी है ताकि वो दुश्मनी का जो एकदम से धार है वो बनी रहे। इसी तरह से हम जब तक हमारी इच्छाओं के ऊपर विचारों की परत नहीं हम चढ़ाते, तब तक हमारी इच्छाएं सबल नहीं होती हैं। ये जो संदेश है ये गीता से भी मिलता है और ये हमको कृष्णमूर्ति से भी मिलता है। मेरे पास समय की सीमा है क्योंकि मैं बहुत ज्यादा उद्धरण नहीं दूंगा, इसलिए, लेकिन आप ये ख्याल रखिए कि मैं न तो कृष्णमूर्ति की पुष्टि कर रहा हूं और न परंपरा की पुष्टि कर रहा हूं। मैं दोनों को अपने नजरिए से देख रहा हूं और मेरा नजरिया जाहिर है कि त्रुटिपूर्ण हो सकता है। अब हम एक दूसरे मुद्दे पे आते हैं जिसमें योग सूत्र भी शामिल है और ये भी शामिल है जो गीता है। दो शब्दों का प्रयोग किया गया है, वैराग्य का और अभ्यास का। अब ये कृष्णमूर्ति का की जो हम साधना संकेत कहें उनसे बिल्कुल बाहर की चीज लगती है, लेकिन मैं निवेदन करना चाहूंगा कि इसका क्या उसके साथ क्या नाता जुड़ता है। देखिए, जब अर्जुन पूछते हैं कि मन तो बहुत चंचल है, इसको कैसे वश में किया जा सकता है, तो कृष्ण उनको कहते हैं कि देखो, अभ्यास और वैराग्य से ये वश में आता है। और पतंजलि का सूत्र भी है, अभ्यास वैराग्यानाम तस् निरोध है, जो चित्त का निरोध है अभ्यास से और वैराग्य से। तो ये दो शब्द हम लें और हम इसकी एटिमोलॉजी देखें। देखिए, दरिदा ने कहा था कि भाषा में जो अर्थ है उसका डीकंस्ट्रक्शन जरूरी है, और मैं दरिदा को ऋषि ही मानता हूं। जिस आदमी को भी, चाहे वो बच्चा ही क्यों ना हो, किसी सत्य का एक नया पहलू नजर आता है और सत्य के पहलुओं का कोई अंत नहीं है, तो उसको वो एक प्रकार से ऋषि की दृष्टि मिलती है उस समय के लिए। तो पतंजलि ने जो बात कही वैराग्य की और अभ्यास की, और कृष्ण ने जो बात कही वैराग्य की और अभ्यास की, दोनों का जो अर्थ है दोनों का एक ही है, अलग नहीं है। उस मामले में कोई असहमति नहीं है उनकी। दोनों किताबें मूलतः सांख्य पर आधारित हैं। वेदांत वालों को वो गीता बहुत प्रिय लगी तो उन्होंने प्रस्थानत्रयी में उसको रख लिया, वो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लेकिन मूलतः वो सांख्य पर आधारित है और योग भी उसमें है, और सब गीता तो एक प्रकार की समन्वयवादी पुस्तक है। तो अभ्यास का कृष्णमूर्ति के साथ क्या, क्योंकि कृष्णमूर्ति तो प्रैक्टिस के लिए मना करते हैं। अर्जेंसी ऑफ चेंज में उन्होंने एक जगह कहा है कि आप प्रैक्टिस मत करिए, क्योंकि प्रैक्टिस आप गलत की कर सकते हैं। गलत नोट बजा रहे हैं तो उसकी प्रैक्टिस हो सकती है, ऐसा उनका कहना है। और परंपरा में आप देख रहे हैं कि जो बुद्ध पूर्व की परंपरा है उसमें तो अभ्यास का बहुत महत्व है। बुद्ध ने भी रखा है, वर्धमान महावीर ने भी रखा है, बल्कि पूरे विश्व के धर्मों में अभ्यास का महत्व है। इसी तरह से वैराग्य की बात है, एसेटिक के अर्थ में लिया जाता है वैराग्य को। आजकल तो वैरागियों का एक संप्रदाय लड़ने को तैयार हो जाते हैं कई बार, है ना। उनमें ऐसे भी हैं जो बिल्कुल साधना प्रवण है, सब प्रकार के लोग हैं जैसे, लेकिन जैसे ही समूह बनता है वैसे ही टकराव होने लगता है। तो वैराग्य शब्द दरअसल संस्कृत की उसी वर्ब से बना है, रंगना, रंज, जिससे मनोरंजन शब्द बनता है, रंजन शब्द बनता है। और फिर उसमें अगर हम राग में वी लगा दें, देखिए राग का मतलब जो है वो भी उसी से, रंज से, रंगने के अर्थ में। इसलिए मराठी में राग का मतलब होता है गुस्सा, और हमारे हिंदी में राग का मतलब होता है कि बहुत लगाव किसी से हो जाना, लेकिन है वो इमोशन, और बहुत तीखी किस्म की जो इमोशन है उसके लिए जब हम अपने वर्तमान को रंगने लगते हैं, अपने व्हाट इज को हम अपनी ऑब्जेक्टिव इमेजिनेशन से, अपनी इच्छाओं से उसको रंगना शुरू कर देते हैं, वैसे ही हम राग की प्रक्रिया में हिस्सा ले रहे होते हैं, रंगने की प्रक्रिया में हिस्सा ले रहे होते हैं। तो मुझे कृष्णमूर्ति को पढ़ने के बाद जो अर्थ, जिस अर्थ की प्रतीति हुई वो था कि वैराग्य का अर्थ कुछ भी रंगना नहीं है, जो है, जो व्हाट इज है। दुख है तो दुख, सुख है तो सुख। मैं नहीं कर पाता हूं इसको, लेकिन कभी कभी हो पाता है, इसका मतलब है होना संभव है। वो जिन क्षणों के लिए मैं कहता हूं नहीं कर पाता हूं, वो दरअसल मैं करना चाहता नहीं। मैं व्हाट इज के साथ ठहरना नहीं चाहता हूं, जानबूझ के मैं व्हाट शुड बी की तरफ चला जाता हूं। वो एक अलग मसला है, लेकिन वो नामुमकिन नहीं है। बिल्कुल आर्डुअस है। सेल्फ नॉलेज को कृष्णमूर्ति ने कहा है बहुत आर्डुअस है, श्रम साध्य है। बिना प्रयास का कैसा श्रम होता है उसको हमने खुद जांचना परखना है। तो ये तो वैराग्य का जो मुझे अर्थ जिसकी प्रतीति होती है कि कुछ भी रंगना नहीं है, बिना कुछ रंगने की स्थिति, मानसिक रूप से कुछ हमको पेंट नहीं करना है। अगर ऊब हो रही है, उचाटपना हो रहा है, तो पूरी तरह से हमें उसके साथ ठहरना। और हम रंगने के लिए हमारे पास ब्रश क्या होता है, विचार का होता है। अब वो विचार पिक्टोरियल भी हो सकता है, चित्रात्मक हो सकता है, शब्दात्मक हो सकता है, जैसे भी हो। जैसे ही मुझे घबराहट होनी शुरू हुई, मैंने अपनी किसी पूर्व प्रेमिका के बारे में सोचना शुरू कर दिया और मैं बाग बाग हो गया। लेकिन वो जो समस्या थी, वो जो वाटेज वहां पर था, उससे मैं चूक गया, क्योंकि वो जिंदगी मुझे कुछ बता रही है। अगर मुझे कुछ घबराहट हो रही है तो जिंदगी मुझे कुछ कह रही है कि भैया जरा देख लो इसको भी, है ना, ना देखो तो तुम्हारी मर्जी। कृष्णमूर्ति ने एक जगह कहा है, इफ यू आर नॉट स्ट्रेट लाइफ मेक्स यू स्ट्रेट। तो ये तो हुआ वैराग्य का अर्थ। इससे कोई भी गीता का अध्येता या गीता का विद्वान इससे सहमत नहीं होगा, और न ही जो मैंने युक्त शब्द की बात की उसका जो मैं अर्थ ले रहा हूं उससे भी सहमत नहीं होगा। लेकिन उनके लिए असहमत होना भी मुश्किल होगा, क्योंकि व्याकरण की दृष्टि से मामला गड़बड़ नहीं है, वो फिट बैठ जाता है। जो रैशनैलिटी है, तर्क विवेक की दृष्टि से भी वो ठीक है। एक अर्थ ये भी बनता है ऐसा। इसलिए ये जो बुद्ध पूर्व की परंपरा है, मैंने बौद्ध परंपरा का बहुत अध्ययन नहीं किया, लेकिन संस्कृत मेरे चूंकि एक विषय रहा, तो इसलिए जो परंपरा है उसका अध्ययन है, बुद्ध पूर्व परंपरा का। तो एक अच्छी बात यह है कि आप 1000 अर्थ कर सकते हो और कोई ये नहीं कह सकता कि आप गलत अर्थ कर रहे हो, है ना। वही मध्वाचार्य उसी में गीता में द्वैत सिद्ध करते हैं, और जो शंकराचार्य हैं वो उसमें अद्वैत सिद्ध करते हैं। शंकराचार्य इसलिए ज्यादा मशहूर हो जाते हैं क्योंकि वो ज्यादा तार्किक है। उनकी भाषा ऐसी है जैसे जैसे ऐसा गद्य जिसको कविता में घुला मिला दिया। जैसे दिनकर जी की एक किताब है संस्कृति के 4 अध्याय, आप गद्य पढ़ते हैं तो आपको पता लगता है कि ये कवि का गद्य है। ऐसे ही शंकराचार्य के साथ है, इसलिए शंकराचार्य के आगे बाकी भाष्य फीके पड़ जाते। तो ये हुई वैराग्य की बात। अब मैं बात करूंगा अभ्यास की। देखिए, प्रैक्टिस के साथ मुझे लगता है कि कृष्णमूर्ति का जो संकेत है वो ये है कि देखो भाई, अगर प्रैक्टिस करोगे, आप अवेयरनेस की भी प्रैक्टिस करोगे तो वो मैकेनिकल हो जाएगी। वो एक जगह उन्होंने कहा था ना कि अगर आप माला जप रहे हैं तो वो फिर मैकेनिकल हो जाता है, राम राम जप रहे हैं मैकेनिकल हो जाता है। तो जब मैंने पढ़ा था कृष्णमूर्ति को, तभी मैंने वो करके देखा, माला जप के देखी और राम नाम जप के देखा, तो वो मुझे जो अनुभूति है वो ये प्रायशः मैकेनिकल हो जाता है, मोस्टली मैकेनिकल हो जाता है, नेसेसरीली मैकेनिकल नहीं होता है। आप माला बिल्कुल अवेयर रह के जप सकते हो तो मैकेनिकल नहीं होगा, और आप राम राम बिल्कुल सजग जागे हुए रह करके अगर जपते हैं तो उसका अनिवार्य रूप से मैकेनिकल नहीं होगा, लेकिन आमतौर से मैकेनिकल हो जाएगा। नानक जब जपते होंगे तो मैकेनिकल नहीं होता, मुझे खातरी। तो 2 मिनट और है मेरे पास। तो अभ्यास शब्द का जो, देखिए, यास में प्र लग के प्रयास शब्द बनता है, और इसी तरह से आयास शब्द भी बनता है। हिंदी के सब परिचित शब्द हैं ये। तो मुझे कृष्णमूर्ति को पढ़ने के बाद अभ्यास शब्द का जो मीनिंग मुझे प्रतीत हुआ वो ये था, नॉट टू गिव अप अटेम्प्टिंग। जो आप आजमा रहे हैं उसको एकदम से जल्दी, कृष्णमूर्ति कहते हैं क्या आप पेड़ को देख सकते हो बिना उसे कोई नाम दिए, यानी कि बिना विचार की दखलंदाजी के। अब मैंने थोड़ा सा करके देखा, एक बार नहीं नहीं, वो तो एकदम से ऑटोमेटिकली नाम आ जाता है और मैंने उस बात को परे हटा दिया, ये अपन के बस की बात नहीं है। नहीं 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 नहीं, उसको मैं फिर करके देखूं, उस चीज को मैं आज किया मैंने, उसके बाद परसों फिर मैं देखूं, ये एकदम से इस चीज का फैसला ना ले लूं कि तो वो अभी यास अभी अभी जो है उपसर्ग, वो संस्कृत का बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट उपसर्ग है। तो अभ्यास शब्द का जो मुझे अर्थ प्रतीत होता है वो ये है कि कृष्णमूर्ति की शिक्षाओं के साथ या कृष्ण की शिक्षाओं के साथ या पतंजलि की शिक्षाओं के साथ प्रयोग करते समय बहुत जल्दी ये ना कह देना कि नहीं ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है, जब तक कि हमने उसमें बहुत गहरे जाके उस चीज को आजमा नहीं लिया। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप लोगों का। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
अनम्यूट करें सर, दुबे सर खुद को अनम्यूट करें। दुबे सर प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ।
Okay, okay. Dinesh ji, please go ahead, ask your question.
Sir, actually the time is very less. I wanted to speak much, but I will just express my views in 5 minutes time. I think that today's discussion was not very fruitful, was not exhaustive, was not elaborate. People I'm very sorry to say, but people have to go deep in the tradition so that they can understand the traditional tradition in details. And what traditional, if literature, if you go through, they have given various sadhanas to various kind of people. Meera has reached the goal or attended her goal by bhajan and all that, and there are so many other people who have attended from different this thing. Krishnamurti is whatever Krishnamurti said, those wordings are very different, but that thing also has been mentioned in tradition. Ashtavakra Gita is also very similar to Krishnamurti, and even if we go to the Shankar Sahitya, Shankaracharya, then in Shankaracharya Sahitya also, Shat Sampatti and whatever he has talked about Shat Sampatti and Sadhan Chatushtaya, that the meaning of that, if we go into deep, it is not very different from removing your conditioning. People cannot very easily remove his conditioning unless he is having a special energy. Krishnamurti, unfortunately or fortunately or intentionally, remains silent on the energy aspect of it. He has mentioned simply that one has to have the energy to wipe out the subconscious and unconscious. Normally, if you go, you see, so consciously you can very well understand what Krishnamurti says. But when he says that if the truth of that can clean up your subconscious and unconscious, it is not so easy. It varies from different people to people, and Krishnamurti was an individual. For him, it may be possible, or he could have wiped out his conditioning in just by seeing or observing with the pure observation. But I don't think for many people it is possible. In my case also, if I go deep, some conditioning I can remove just by seeing. But for many things to clean up this thing, just by simply by remaining moment to moment aware, that thing doesn't happen. Similarly, in case of, he said that what will happen with the Coca-Cola, repetition of the word. But that word, what he said, is not for the Ram. And as Shakti Kumar has also pointed out, if there is a jap with awareness, then it has got different effect. I have already gone through all these sadhanas. I have done some jap. I have remained with the people who has done lot of jap and all the, also with the bhajan and other people. And I found that they also got something from it. Similarly, in case of Krishnamurti also, what my personal view is, in engineering, what we do, I'm an engineer basically, what we do, we start, when we make an engineering drawing, we start from the center. We may make the center line, and from there we go to the outer periphery, and then we understood what the totality is. In case of Krishnamurti, he starts like an artist. When an artist makes a painting, you cannot just judge what he is going to make. He just simply draws some lines, and at the end you know what he has, what painting he has made. So it is similar in case of Krishnamurti. In tradition also they said that after this first is Shastra Prachiti, then Guru Prachiti, and then Atma Prachiti. When you go for Atma Prachiti, you have to leave aside the Guru. Krishnamurti has also said that Guru can only point out and he can share with his insights with you, but ultimately you have to go to the ultimate this thing. So things are not, it is not like that Krishnamurti has pointed out very different things, or he has, yes, he has given some special this thing, his contributions. As he said that in only in relationship, you know, what self-knowing you can know only in the case of relationship, because your inner all aspects come forward, or your subconscious aspects come forward in case of only awareness when you are in relationship with the other. So yes, this is a great contribution by Krishnamurti. Similarly, he said about the intelligence. So intelligence and Guru Tattva, what the tradition says that when you person goes in deeper sadhana, then he can have the intelligence in form of Guru Tattva. Means from inside he will start getting insights and all that. So I think the tradition has also pointed out the same thing what Krishnamurti has said. And one thing also we have to understand that Krishnamurti has remained silent about the process and this thing. Kundalini also, when discussed with him, he has just said that there are so many things, but unless you are having a religious mind, you cannot understand what that process is and all that. So he also remained silent on many things. And personally, we also see in his diaries, there are so many experiences which are out of this thing. In teachings, he has not mentioned about them, but in his personal diaries, he has mentioned about so many experiences which are not normally mentioned anywhere. So he also said that, as other speakers have also pointed out, that you have to keep your window open, and then there can be breeze of that, and it is possible that that breeze may come inside and you can have that experience. So the traditional people have also said that you should have a grace, and once you reach, if your the desire is ardent, and if you are sincere, honest, and you are intense in your finding, then you may get the grace and you can understand what the others are saying. So in my opinion, Krishnamurti,
Thank you very much.
it is
Thank
only
you very
just
much.
hold on, sir. Just last verdict, last line.
Ah,
They are the
Finish it.
two. Krishnamurti and tradition are only the two sides of the same coin. One has to understand, as other speaker have also pointed out, if one has done a real sadhana and this thing, then he can understand the real meaning after going. He gets the complementary idea from the Krishnamurti literature. Similarly, I want to request all the Krishnamurti learners, they should also do some sadhana in the traditional way, so they can understand what really Krishnamurti wants to say. Because unless you go to
Once
the
again, sir,
sadhana,
thank
you
you very-
cannot get the
thank you
boundary
very
of
much.
this thing.
Vadmare,
Thank you.
Vadmare, please, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Dubey sir,
Thank you, Vagmare.
Sunday's topic, time is different.
Coming up, the whole idea of bringing tradition, tradition itself is such a vast thing, just like an ocean. So even a number of lectures of 1.5 hour duration will not do justice to what the traditional literature is. But idea is to just get introduction, and you have rightly said, truth has to be same for anybody. It doesn't matter what path you follow, but ultimate reality has to be same for any panth or any parampara or whatever. Jain Saab, I think I would like Shakti ji and Harshad Bhai and Harish Bhai to respond to this. Can you extend it by 10 minutes?
Why not, sir? You are most welcome. But you have to declare next Sunday's lecture because time is different. That is my concern.
I'll do that. So let's extend it by 10 minutes.
Yes.
And I'll
Because
each
it
speaker
will not bring justice. Because after listening for 15 and 20 minutes, you cannot decide what one has said.
Yes. So, Shakti ji, would you take all three speakers, not more than 2 minutes each, please? Give your.
5 minutes each. 5 minutes each, sir. It is better to give 5 minutes, sir.
Okay. So 5 minutes each. So we'll extend it by 15 minutes. Shakti ji.
Thank you.
Shakti ji first, then Harish ji, then Harshad Bhai.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to add anything. I just want to say that if others wish to ask questions, they may ask Harshad ji and Harish ji, because I am not in a position to answer any question. So just that I wanted to say.
Dinesh,
Thank you.
only make observations. I don't think he asked any questions. His own background of tradition and Krishnamurti, whatever he is aware of or understood, he mentioned and compared. So that's okay. This is a forum where you can ask questions. So is there any question from anybody? Since there are no questions, Sushilji, I think we can close.
Dubey, one thing,
Yeah,
can I be allowed 2 minutes, just, you know?
yeah, please. Yeah, try.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. You know, I had written it, but forgot to read.
Yeah.
But it is not that I want to drive home a particular point. You know, another Upanishad is Kaushitiki Upanishad, which is part of the Rig Veda, and verses 3.2 to 3.6, very short, this thing. Manasa dhyan mittek bhuyang vai pranah. With mind, meditate on me as being prana. Now, you know, one thing means Vipassana people, I mean, starts drumming. The Goenkaji has given something novel and new. We all know that prana is breath. And the Rig Veda is the first book of mankind that is in any general knowledge book. So even Rig Veda says that focus on prana, that is breath. So as Bhagmare ji said, you know, कि चलने वाले की कमी है, you know, the traveler, the seeker, the sadhak. But you know, there are all kinds of endless paths. Second thing, last but not least, in traditional evolution, Krishnaji says a remarkable thing. He talks about, like Shakti ji emphasized a point very beautifully, Yukta R. Yukta, you know, I am slightly differ with Shakti ji, or add one thing. When we say Yukti Sangat, aapki baat Yukti Sangat hai, means what you say is appropriate, relevant, in line with something. So what is proper, appropriate, good. Now you see, Yukta R, Krishnaji warned us against red meat. If you read the literature, he warned against all meat, but particularly red meat. And we know why, because the cholesterol is more, it dulls the mind. Anyway, so Yukta R, Krishnaji has said, even if you have traditional evolution, even if you have destroyed and ruined yourself by eating every day red meat, by consuming tons of alcohol, being a chain smoker, if there is a true desire to find truth for God, yes, it will happen. It will do its own miracle job to purify your system. Don't worry. The true desire. So that is what that mumuksha, that burning passion for that, you know, if that is there, you know, the rest is probably only about personal liking. Okay, I like Krishnamurti, or I like Gita, or whatever it is. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll close now. Next week on Sunday, we have Dr. David Moody. The timing is 9:30 a.m. So please kindly make a note, 9:30 a.m. And he will be speaking on the theme, was Krishnamurti really a world teacher? So we'll meet next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. The link will be same. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all participants and everybody. Thank you very much. Please close it.
Thank you.